The Russian Revolution of 1917. Standard W.38 determined the causes and consequences of the Bolshevik Revolution and the Russian Civil War. For this lesson, you will need paper, a pen or pencil, computer or mobile device, headphones. You may move at your own pace. Feel free to pause or rewind the video as you need. A text version of this assignment is available on the Overton High School website. Lesson Agenda. I do. Introduction. We do. Guided reading. You do. Check for understanding. Introduction. During the Russian Revolution, the monarchy was abolished and a socialist form of government was adopted. The Russian Revolution can also be seen as the precursor for other European revolutions that occurred during or in the aftermath of World War I, such as the German Revolution of 1918. The Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, also known as the October Revolution, took place in 1917 and was a pivotal event in world history, marking the end of the Tsarist monarchy and the beginning of Soviet rule. The revolution was led by the Bolshevik Party, later known as the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, and its charismatic leader, Vladimir Lenin. In this lesson, we will explore the causes and consequences of the Bolshevik Revolution and the Russian Civil War. Tsar Nicholas II was the last emperor of Russia and ruled from 1894 until his abdication in 1917. During his reign, Russia experienced significant social, economic, and political upheaval, as well as military defeats in the Russo-Japanese War and World War I. Nicholas II was widely seen as an ineffective and out-of-touch ruler who failed to address the needs of the Russian people and modernize the country. While Western Europe had industrialized, Russia remained mostly agrarian, or an economy based on agriculture. In 1905, a series of protests and uprisings known as the 1905 Revolution shook Russia and called for political reforms and an end to Tsarist rule. In response to the unrest, Nicholas II agreed to establish an elected Duma, or parliament, but the Duma's powers were limited and the Tsar retained ultimate authority. Nicholas II refused to enact any reform that challenged his power. The Duma was ineffective in bringing about real change, and the Russian people remained disillusioned with the government. Check for understanding. 1. Who was the last Tsar of Russia? 2. What event marked the end of the Tsarist monarchy in Russia? 3. What was the purpose of the elected Duma in Russia? Vladimir Lenin was a Marxist revolutionary and the leader of the Bolshevik Party. He believed in the ideas of Marxist communism, which advocated for the abolition of private property and the establishment of a classless society. Lenin returned to Russia in 1917 after years of living in exile and quickly took control of the Bolshevik Party. He argued that the provisional government established after the fall of the Tsarist monarchy was weak and ineffective and called for a socialist revolution to seize power and establish a Soviet state. Communism is a political and economic ideology that positions itself in opposition to liberal democracy and capitalism, advocating instead for a classless system in which the means of production are owned communally and private property is non existent or severely curtailed. The Bolshevik Revolution was driven by a number of prolonged social, economic, and political problems, including widespread poverty and inequality, food shortages, political unrest, and the failed war effort in World War I. The Russian people's disillusionment with the provisional government made them open to the idea of the Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks capitalized on this discontent and, in October 1917, seized power in Petrograd, the capital of Russia. The Russian Civil War was a direct result of the October Revolution of 1917. The Civil War, which lasted from 1918 to 1922, involved several different factions fighting for control of the country. The Bolsheviks ultimately emerged victorious and established the Soviet Union, a communist state that would go on to become one of the world's superpowers. Check for understanding. 4. Who was the leader of the Bolshevik Party during the Bolshevik Revolution? 5. What were some of the social, economic, and political factors that drove the Bolshevik Revolution? 6. What was the outcome of the Russian Civil War? The Soviet government implemented a number of significant changes in the years following the revolution, including the nationalization of industry, the collectivization of agriculture, and the establishment of a planned economy. These policies had a profound impact on the lives of ordinary Russians, many of whom continued to face widespread poverty, famine, and repression as a result of the new regime's policies. In addition, the Soviet Union became a major player on the world stage, spreading communist ideology and influencing international events for the next several decades. The Soviet Union's political and economic system was in stark contrast to the capitalist systems of the West, and the two sides engaged in a Cold War that lasted for several decades. The legacy of the Bolshevik Revolution and the Russian Civil War continues to be felt in Russia and around the world. The Soviet Union was dissolved in 1991, but the impact of the revolution and the ideas of Marxist communism continue to shape the course of world history and influence debates over the role of government. Check for understanding. 7. What were some policies implemented by the Soviet government following the Bolshevik Revolution? 8. How did the Soviet Union become a major player on the world stage? 9. What was the impact of the Bolshevik Revolution and the Russian Civil War on the lives of ordinary Russians? 10. How does the legacy of the Bolshevik Revolution and the Russian Civil War continue to influence the world today? Lesson Review. In your own words, describe the cause and effects of the Russian Revolution and the Russian Civil War.